Welcome back to the
Spud
and Sweet Potato Podcast.
I like to call it a life cast.
Well, our last episode was interviewing Olivia, which was not really interviewing.
That was a little bit of a rough one, wasn't
it? Her brain has to be in the right box, and she had just come home from school.
She didn't know.
But it was good. It was good. I think that'll be special to be able to look at.
She is special.
So she is very special. She's a good girl. Hard to believe she's graduating from high school.
Oh,
still can't believe it.
Goodness gracious.
So in this episode, we're going to pick up where we left off in the episode before we interviewed Olivia, where we had just arrived into Canada after the accident. And
so forgive us if we do go over some old details, because
we're trying to.
We have no script.
Right. We're just.
This is like a conversation. Thank you for entering into our conversation. And really, just for fun. Really, this is just for fun.
And
I hope you enjoy it.
Learn something?
Yeah.
Great.
Hey.
If nothing else, it's mildly entertaining.
Yeah.
So, I don't remember I think we talked about the trip home. I feel like we did talk about that in the other episode where my mom came and you drove a vehicle, she drove her car, and we came.
Right, so we talked about
I was still in really, really rough shape.
Oh, you were. You were not supposed to leave. They did not want you to leave the hospital.
Looking back,
they thought we were nuts.
I know.
I mean, they knew we were nuts. We were nuts.
We're. What are you talking about?
Still are to this day.
But honestly,
abnormal in the dictionary. Jeff and Virginia Harris.
Hey, speak for yourself, pal.
Yeah.
Just kidding. But honestly, looking back, I cannot believe I left the hospital as injured.
Your leg wasn't
as
even
broken as I was.
Yeah, broken. Broken pieces.
It's the song
Ruined
is your
lives are why you died on Calvary.
It's a really nice song.
It is, and I just ruined it.
No, you didn't. But that's where, if you watch the last episode,
you understand that.
You'll get that. So anyway, I was still in such bad shape. Like,
that's why I said that the car was filled with medical supplies, because we had to have special bandages. We had to have special. I mean, there was so much stuff because
those bandages,
the grafting and everything was still. That
one bandage was really cool. It was like a thicker gauze, but it was all like in Vaseline. Right. Do you remember you had to open it up like this, and it was all Vaseline?
Your mother did more of that, because if you remember, you know about me.
That first night, though,
I don't do gory blood.
Yeah.
I don't watch that kind of stuff. I don't. I mean, I'm the guy that passed out when I cut my finger. So.
Did you really?
Yeah.
When was that?
It was years ago when I worked at the fireplace shop.
You passed out?
Yeah. I mean, the girls in the office. I came in because I cut my finger on a flashing out in the warehouse, and I walked in, and by the time I got in, they could see that I was going like this, and they brought over a rolling chair quickly and shoved it up underneath of me.
Oh man. Well, you always said all through the years, if the kids threw up or there was a big mess, you can clean up one mess. And you clean up that mess. Or you can clean up two messes, because if I try to clean up, there'll be two messes. You know
what I just thought of that is so sad about that is those people, number one, that business that I worked for is gone.
What was it? Colonial Fireplaces?
Colonial Fireplaces. It's gone. Yeah. Not even in business anymore.
Right.
And second of all, most of those people that I worked with are dead.
Right.
They passed away. I'm at that age now where most of my friends, most of the people that I...
But Mike Butts was not old.
Not when he died.
Young.
Yeah,
like
he
he's
died
been gone
very
for
young.
a while.
Yeah, it was a brain aneurysm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was, when I found that out, that was shocking.
That is. Yeah, I think we're getting to that age where more people, I mean, I'm only 51 and you're almost 60. But, sorry, I know, right?
Right in that kisser.
Not quite 60.
Who was that? Remember that little boy 59. That was related to Corey? And remember he said something about, in the old kisser, and he got in trouble?
Was that...
Oh, what was his name?
Oliver
Bain.
Yeah.
And he said something. He's just a little kid, and he said something to somebody about right in the kisser. And man, did he ever get in trouble?
I'm friends with him on Facebook. He's got a really nice dog, cute, like
well, there you go.
Boxer kind of dog.
What do you remember about him? He's got a really nice dog.
Well, that's what I know about him now.
Okay.
Anyway, we digress. So anyway, the bandages. Yeah, that was. I was still in pretty rough shape. Oh, you know what? I forgot to start the timer. Did you see what time we started?
No, doesn't matter.
I'll do 25 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
We had to keep ourselves on track, or we could talk too long.
We've done a good job of keeping ourselves on track.
I know. So we arrive in Canada. The kids are already there. I don't know who was keeping track of them, but they're already there. And I remember arriving at my parents' house. And because I had, you know me, I love the Hallmark movies. I love the happy ending, you know, everything, the Christian romance, you know, all the everybody says just the right thing and all that. And so in my mind, I had this Hallmark movie ending pictured for when I got to my parents' house with the kids. You know, I would come in, they would all run up to me, and I would hug them, and it would be just this joyous reunion. Well, the thing is they were 1, 2, and 3 years old at the time. So you picture, okay, 1, 2, and 3. Which of our grandkids are 1, 2, 3? Ruby just turned 3. Liam is 2, and Everett is 1. So you picture Everett, Liam, and Ruby. And they're just these little kids. They're not really, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like they're going to come up and, oh, you know. I mean, Ruby's they're all usually pretty happy to see me, but I'm saying, you know.
You did that for me.
I know.
I'm just kidding. I don't even remember it.
But anyway, all that to say is that I didn't realize until after I never, you know, vocalized or verbalized my picture perfect reunion with my children. And so nobody had said, you know, we have been telling them to be careful of you and not to hurt you, because my leg was still very, very hurt and damaged. And so when I think Roscoe's itching his ear in the background.
He's going to knock the camera over.
Oh, no, don't knock over the camera. Do not do that.
Crazy dog.
But you may not even remember this. I don't know if you guys brought me around back in the wheelchair, but I know I wasn't using crutches. I was using a walker if I wasn't in the wheelchair at that point. Like
you were in the wheelchair.
My ankle still had not completely healed from the accident.
No, you were.
I was not walking.
In a wheelchair.
Yeah. So, well, maybe it did. I don't know. Anyway, I was in a wheelchair.
Your dad used a forklift.
No, he didn't. No, he used the ramp at the back. Probably. I probably came in from the back.
Probably did. Yes, he did.
Anyway, I just remember I was so excited and I couldn't wait to see the kids, and they wouldn't come to me. For one thing, they'd hardly seen me in the past, whatever,
well, they don't remember.
2 months.
You've lost your leg. You're still not.
Did not look the same.
Look the same as you did.
Right. I'd lost a ton of weight.
Oh, goodness gracious.
I
had no idea who you were.
35 pounds I went up. I gained like 40 pounds. And because of all the fluid that they put into me. And then from my highest, I lost 70 pounds in the hospital. And so I was really thin, and my hair was short, but I think it was already short. And I was in the wheelchair. It was just like it was definitely not do you feel like I'm upset? He's my emotional support dog, isn't he? He's a good boy.
Is.
Anyway, so that was hard.
I didn't do nothing, I promise. She's fine.
That was really hard, because I was picturing them to just run up and, you know, crawl into my lap and give me a hug, and they were hanging back, like they were nervous to come to me, and I was like, oh, this is so hard. But anyway, so we got there, got settled. We're there for a little while, and then
we weren't there for more than a few days, and then something happened with, I don't remember what it was, your leg, what it was that happened, your side, what it was,
yeah.
And because we were not, you know, residents of Canada, we're residents of. I'm a U.S. citizen. You were a resident of the U.S. And, you know, we were pretty much the established there.
Yes.
That we had to go back.
That's right.
So we ended up going to Erie.
Yes, because I got...
Not Erie, I'm sorry. Buffalo.
Oh, it was Erie. Wasn't it ECMC, Erie County Medical Center?
Yes.
So that's why we keep saying Erie, but it was in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And because the wound in my side still had not healed.
That was a trauma center.
It was a trauma center.
Yeah.
And it all gotten infected, and it was really bad. It was hot and red,
pain
and it was
and everything.
Yeah,
and I just remember rushing you over to the.
So they had to flush it out with saline and everything.
Trauma
Get it all,
center.
yeah. So I almost forgot an important thing. The whole reason, and I think I said this last time, was that I was so anxious to get home when I got home, which was way too early in retrospect, was because Luke was about to turn 4 years old.
Right.
And so we got there, and I think it was like the 17th maybe we got to my parents' house, and then his birthday's the 20th. And so I had the Bob the Builder character cake pan,
that you made
and I made him a cake. I was only out of the hospital
And I think
from my wheelchair.
His party was at like a Chuck E.
Chuck E.
Cheese's
Cheese.
type
Yes,
place.
yes.
Well, it wasn't called that. It was called something else there.
what was
Choo
it?
Choo Charlie's.
Choo Choo Charlie's.
I'm
What
telling
in
you,
the
I remember
world?
stuff from years ago, and I
Man.
can't remember what happened yesterday.
You are on the ball, babe. Man.
Carol. Yeah, I still have the picture in my mind of you in your wheelchair
Yes,
there.
yes.
And it was way too much for you that day.
It was.
By the
It
time
really
we had
was.
barely we were like, oh man, she's not going to make it.
Yeah.
She's not. We were worried.
Yeah.
And you were like, no, I'm staying.
I
I'm
know. I know. I just didn't. I missed
You
out.
did.
I had missed. I was talking to someone recently, and there was something in their life that they missed out on, like the first 5 years of their children's lives, and I was just like, I can't imagine. It was so hard for me missing out on those 2 months. You know, going from Tori barely walking when we went into the hospital to her running by the time I got out. Like, I'm just so glad that, but thank the Lord that I'm still here, and I haven't missed these last however many years. 2003, 23 years almost. Wow, that's
It's been
crazy.
a long time.
So anyway, so then, you know, we start figuring out whatever's normal for us at that time. And
Oh, there was
so
nothing normal.
We would go out.
We were back and forth
Yeah.
to Charleston for your appointments.
True, we were back. We did a
had,
lot of traveling.
U-Haul had. I mean, there was a whole series of stuff because the was a U-Haul truck. They hired. Remember the letter I got?
They were
from
afraid
their
with all the attorneys.
It was like this list of like 30 different attorneys listed on
they
there.
thought they were gonna
from
get
U-Haul.
sued
They
somehow.
thought they were going to get sued. That's why they confiscated it. They did an investigation. Anyhow, so we didn't have a choice, and we had to hire an attorney. But the attorney was in Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
This happened in West Virginia.
He came all the way to the
We were
hospital,
together.
though, didn't he?
He
I
did.
thought I remembered him at
He
the hospital.
and Jeff Evans
There were
did.
two Jeffs. Jeff
Yeah,
somebody.
Jeff Evans was the guy that lived across the street from me in Richwood,
Oh, okay.
my first house.
I didn't know that.
He worked that all out. Anyhow,
Yeah.
so they came down there, but so there was nothing normal.
Yeah.
Nothing
But
normal.
anyway, we would have evenings.
We were living in your parents' house.
Right. But what I was getting to was that we would go for drives in the evening. You know, when things
Yeah.
kind of settled down a little bit,
That
we'd
was
go
our
for
norm.
drives.
That was kind of what we did, and you're absolutely right.
right,
That was what
kind
I
of-
remember that now. It was kind of just us.
Yeah.
We didn't bring anybody else
Right.
with us. You know, it wasn't
Get
like
Timbits for the
your
kids.
mom and dad went with
No,
us or
it was
nothing.
just-
We drove in that little car.
Right.
Everybody compacted into that little
Yeah,
car. It
we
was a little
did.
Saturn.
All the car seats.
All the car seats in that little Saturn, and you
Did
Still
not have my
not-
leg. Did not have.
we never went in anywhere.
We just went to drive-through.
We
drive,
just went to the drive-throughs and drove
which is a
around.
nod to your mom and dad.
Yeah, yeah.
They love going through the drive-through and sitting in the parking lot.
It used to be when I was able to eat. I
did
used
that
to
too.
love
I'm
that.
like,
was one of
let's
my
go
favorite-
in, let's go in.
Let's
You're
go
like,
in. No, I just want to go to the drive-through and sit out somewhere and
But that's nice. I've gotten over the years. I've gotten to enjoy that. But
Somewhat.
so in our drives, we just were driving around. My parents live in Niagara Falls, and so we would drive around, and we just went into this little town called Welland. And Jeff's like, what's Welland? I'm like, I don't know.
wasn't little.
It's just a little town. In my opinion, though, my perspective was just this little town. I said, honestly, in all my years growing up, my first 18 years of life, we only went to Welland one time, and it was because we wanted to get Christmas family pictures at Sears, and the one in St. Catharines at the Penn Center was too booked up, and they said, well, you could probably get in Welland. So we drove to Welland, and you know, that was the only time I'd ever been there. So we went there. I was like, this is a nice little town.
yeah, no, and it was, in my personal opinion, it wasn't that little. It was much bigger. It was quite spread out and had a whole downtown area and everything.
Oh yeah,
but
mall
now it's like, goodness gracious, super Walmart. They had a Walmart,
Yes.
but it was in the mall.
right.
Huge Canadian Tire. So yeah. Anyhow,
They have everything. I mean, we didn't have to leave Welland for too much.
yeah. But Welland was definitely one of those Tim Hortons towns.
Oh yeah.
No doubt about it.
They
had
joke-
so many. We could have gone over for every night for a week
To a different
and
Tim Hortons.
Gone to a different Tim Hortons.
They joke in Canada that the way they give directions is you go up to the Tim Hortons, turn right, you go to the next Tim Hortons, turn left, then you go to the next Tim Hortons, turn right.
Let's go all by
Maybe we'll get a Tim Hortons. The closest Tim Hortons to us right now is in Meadville, which is like, what, about an hour away? I think it's about a little less than an hour. But all of our kids grew up in Canada. That's all their memory. Every time they get a chance, they go to Tim Hortons. And they send pictures and they bring donuts back. And Tim Hortons,
Yeah.
That's an interesting story of how that whole thing started. We should tell, that we could do like...
My favorite Tim Hortons, though, was the one in Port Colborne, which we eventually...
Was that the one on 3?
Yeah. Remember, we went down, I forget what that highway was.
40 something.
Whatever.
I don't know.
Anyhow, and it was right there as you just, like, well, you just went straight. You could go into the parking lot.
Yes, yeah.
It was there,
it's been there for
Tori
a long
worked
time.
there.
That's right.
And I, for some reason, I remember that one.
Lydia worked out that one too.
Being a very
Lydia Ellis.
special Tim Hortons that we went there. And again, then we ended up buying the farm, which was only a few miles from there.
That was beautiful.
3-4 miles from there.
So anyway, we decided, we prayed about it a lot, and we were like, you know what? We promised God we'd start a church within 10 years, and we still have time. Like this, there was another Baptist church in Welland, but it was not our kind of Baptist church. Anyway, we really felt like we could.
Yeah, it was kind of a conglomeration. It wasn't bad. It was a number of different churches that had come together and kind of formed it. But
we just felt like there was a need. So
yeah, well, there was a whole process with that.
You talked to Pastor Pennell and Brother Jessup.
That was all the way back at Christmas time when I emailed or called. I don't remember if I called or emailed Pastor Pennell, and he said, well, talk to Earl Jessup. He's part of Baptist Church Planting Ministry.
I was getting my leg at Christmas time.
I know.
Like, that's how fast. Like, we did not allow ourselves time.
I told you I know.
You
had no bearing on it.
Like, we would think, I know, you were going stir crazy.
Know.
Well, you were going a little bit.
I would sit in that little desk back in your mom and dad's little spare kitchen.
Right.
And that's why I was trying to think, because I was like, I figured I got to do something.
Yes.
I couldn't work.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah. So, yeah, that was in December.
That's amazing. I still can't believe how fast we did all that.
And actually, if you think about it, because if I contacted them in December, and he said, contact Baptist Church Planting Ministry, Earl Jessup, that's not a process that goes. Usually, for a lot of guys, they were talking years prior to, while they were still in school, planning that. And so they came to Welland in April, is when they came and they looked around Welland to see whether or not.
I remember that.
They checked out the churches to make sure there weren't any churches that we were going to be over top of.
Yes.
They looked at the area. So that was in April. And June, that was April. In June the 13th.
We went to Barrie.
Is when we went to Barrie, and the Barrie church voted. First of all, they voted to start the church.
Yes.
And then they voted me in as pastor.
They were such a blessing.
And then they voted you and I both in as the first two members.
Yes.
So those were all three. In fact, somewhere they should still have that information. I left it with the church. I have a copy somewhere, a picture of it.
That was really neat. I remember that so well. Mm-hmm. And you told the story over the years of driving home with the 3 little kids sound asleep and me asleep in the passenger seat, and you just...
The window was down a little bit, and it was cool. June there, coming out of Barrie, was still fairly cool. And just thinking to myself, trying to picture, because you picture stuff, right? Trying to picture in my mind, what's this church going to look like?
Yeah.
And me, I have this idea of, this big church and balcony and all these kinds of things. And as far as churches go, for us starting that church, planting that church, especially at that period of time, I don't know if it's that way anymore.
Right.
But churches did not get established as quickly as we got established.
No, the Lord,
and we were not supported.
It felt like, we had no support. At first, we were not supported at all.
No money.
That's right. Yeah, it seemed like we struggled for a long time.
We struggled the entire time we were there. What are you talking about?
But no, it felt like we rented a building, and then we bought a very small building. And even though it felt huge and it was packed, to the Gills, it was about 30 people when we moved to the next
So
building.
we can't talk about, if we're already talking about this around the starting of the church. This is not the starting of the church, but I got to tell the story of the kids, because we rented the Lions Club Community Center, which is something that we got there that very first
in April
when Earl and Leroy came. It was then that they got us into the Lions Club, which we weren't supposed to have that. They got that set up immediately the day that they were there. Anyhow, and so the Lions Club had 2 areas. They had one great big ballroom.
I know where you're going now.
And then they had one little ballroom.
Yes.
And then they had, between the two was a big kitchen, big commercial kitchen, because they did a lot of weddings and receptions, and they did a lot of functions like that and everything. But one of the things that they did was they rented it out to this group of people who did professional wrestling. And so they would
didn't know that.
Once a month.
But we didn't know that. We were in the middle of
time.
our service, I think, right? And we heard crash, crash, crash.
No, we knew. No, we knew that they were coming because he told us.
Did he?
And he gave us the option, you'll be okay in the morning. Evening service, you're not going to be able to use it because they use this room for changing and you may not want to do that, which eventually we did, and yes, it did stink in there very bad.
I remember that.
But the kids, of course, they were still very little when we started the church, because this is very early on.
So 2004,
very early on. So this is probably...
They were 3, 4, and 5.
The accident was only a year and 2 years, maybe a year and a half to 2 years past. That's it. And so the church is established, it's going, and they would, on Sunday mornings, they would practice. They would practice their,
their moves.
So they had their stage all set up and everything, but in the church on the other side of the kitchen where we were in the little room to rent, you could hear them over there, kerthunk, kerthunk. You would just keep hearing that. You didn't hear any music or yelling or talking or nothing, but you could hear them when they hit that mat. And they were doing their practicing. And the kids, man, they couldn't wait. Like they sat there the whole time. The second the service was over, they were out. Sorry, Minnie.
Oh, Minnie.
Come here, Min. Sorry about that, Gil. I didn't mean to do that.
That's okay.
They were over. They weren't allowed in. They were not allowed in where they were, but they had these little windows that were about this big and about this tall on the doors, and all 3 of the kids, they were fighting.
If the wrestlers had looked, they'd seen 3 little Harris kids. Probably Tori,
I don't know who,
AJ, and Luke.
Somebody said, where are you guys going, or something like that one time, and they said, we're going to the wrestling service.
Yes.
That's my favorite story.
That sounds like something Luke would have
said. Beacon
said.
Baptist Church, that is my favorite story of everything, is we had 2 services going on at one time. We had the wrestling service and the church service.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny. So
Sorry,
then
I had to tell that story.
That's a good story. So we bought a house in Welland, and
that was in
January. We bought that house.
That was a miracle of God. I had no job. I was not allowed to work in Canada.
How did we get that house then?
We had no money at all. And we went into the credit union.
Did we have a mortgage on it?
And we had no money.
But yeah.
So we went into the credit union, asking them for money to buy this house. You had no job. I had no job. But of course, your great-grandfather started the credit union. That's the only thing we could think of is the reasoning why it happened. And there were no ties anymore. I think maybe you had a couple
I still had my
family
account.
members on the board, but it meant
I don't know.
nothing.
Right.
Like, who was it? Trying to think who it was. Oh, goodness gracious. They lived out in Vineland, but I can't think
Mary's husband. I can't remember his name. Doug.
Yeah. I think one of them was on the board, or 2 of them were on the board.
Doug Martin. He was...
Anyhow,
he worked there
and Granny Kay still, everybody did their banking. That's the only thing I can figure, because they gave us $130,000 loan.
Yeah. How do we even pay for that? I mean, you must have gotten a job at Fawn Hill Building Supplies pretty quickly. After that, like you must have.
No, because we started the church.
How do we pay for our mortgage?
We started the church in September. In August, I was told to start. Well, in August is when we did the John and Romans distribution.
Right.
And we had all those churches that came.
Yes,
we did 35,000. We passed out 35,000 John and Romans.
One church came from Michigan even.
Yeah.
A lot of Canadian churches.
And then I would go out every day almost, and
Yes.
I would go door to door
With John and Roman.
with flyers. No, with flyers. They did the John Romans. I did the flyers. And so I still remember you had gone over the border with your mother to Aldi. And I still remember the place. I was back in this little thing off of Main Street in Welland, and I was handing out flyers door to door. And it's when I got the call that my immigration had been approved, and that I was I was able to go work. And so that was in August. So I didn't start working with Fonthill till March.
Wow. Well, the Lord provided, that's for sure.
Because remember, I was seasonal.
Yeah. Well, we bought the house in January, and then I think it was January 20th, we closed. And then you guys painted and fixed it up and did a few things. And then we moved in, I think, February 20th. And
this
we
was
spent
prior to
one
the church
night,
starting.
Yes,
we hadn't started the church yet. So we're back.
We're going back and forth. Hopefully you can follow it. So accident was July, home in September.
But this is all still within a year period of time.
Yes. Got my leg in December. January, bought a house, moved in February. We spent, I think, only one night, 2 nights at the most. I think it was only one night. And that next morning, you got a phone call. And as soon as, I don't even know how I knew. I was like, oh no, this is a bad news phone call. And you got the call that somebody had crashed outside your parents' house. Your dad went out to help them, and he got hit.
He went back up on the road. It was snowing. Somebody came up the top of the hill, which was the story of me growing up. There were so many cars that ended up in our front yard because of that hill and the curve. And
he almost didn't make it. We I'm sure we sent the kids over to my parents and hopped in the car real quick. I was still in a wheelchair. I mean, I was not...
Went down to Grant
I think
Medical
I had
Center.
my leg... February, I had my leg, but it still wasn't comfortable. I was still using the wheelchair a lot. And so we flew down to Columbus. Not flew, we drove, but we flew.
To the Grant Medical Center. Got down there late at night.
Yes.
Went right directly to the hospital.
I remember
think
you
I went and got
wheeling me.
Mom. Didn't we stop at their house first? And then Mom and we went down. I know we did. Because we all went into the hospital together. You were in the waiting room.
I stayed in the waiting room.
2 people were allowed to go at a time. And I think Mom had said, why don't you and Virginia go? And I said, well, why don't you go with me? Because I don't know where he's at.
Right.
And I don't know.
Right. And I was like, oh, fine, go.
Yeah. So you stayed in the waiting room. And then I went with Mom in. And it was this C-shaped area with all these glass rooms all the way around. Of course, the nurse's station. Because it was the trauma center.
Right.
I remember just going around with Mom, and it was kind of, I don't remember if it was slow or why, but I think it was the last room that was there, and I'm thinking, Dad's not even here. And then Mom starts walking into this room, and I knew she was kind of having a rough time.
Right.
And so I saw her going into this room, and it was glass, so I could see who was in there, and it's like the wrong room.
Yeah.
And so I was going to grab her arm, and I don't know why, but just as I grabbed her arm, going in the door, I could still see it in my mind. I saw the sign on the side of the window because the names were on all the David Harris.
He was in such bad shape you did not even recognize him.
Would have never even known that was.
And they had done whatever it was. He had a lot of internal injuries.
A lot.
And so I don't even know what they were, but I think they weren't able to fully close him after the surgery, right? They had to put a bubble over top to
keep him open. Yeah, but when he got hit, they didn't think anything was wrong with him, but they said the ambulance didn't even stay. And they were starting to have some problems, so Mom took him into Grady.
Right
there in Delaware.
Yes.
And
that's why
we thought everything was fine.
And I think Brother Bailey even went and he said they seemed like everything was fine.
Yeah, he said everything was fine. It's on your dad. Everything was fine. Everything was good. It was like maybe a couple of hours later, I get a call from Jody, and she said they're life flighting Dad to Grant Medical Center. They don't think he's going to make it. I'm like, what in the world? And that's when we
got going.
Yeah, that's when we got in the car.
We stayed for a couple days, just for a couple days, I think. A few days. I don't remember everything, but he made it.
Went back and forth with Mom a few times, and he eventually made it. And though he still today has difficulties as a result of it.
Yeah.
Then
I think his leg thing is part of the accident.
I
don't know either.
I don't remember that either.
But anyway, so that was February, and then we just started getting. We had our house, and we
and then it
get
was
ready to start the church.
May or June we started April with the process of starting the church,
Right.
but then you kept getting invitations to come and to speak
Yes.
at ladies' conference and stuff.
So I went in May.
Well, you had gone earlier back in whatever
October.
that was. October. You
That's
had gone
right.
to the Women's Hood
Only a month
Spectacular or
after
whatever
being
it
out of the
was.
hospital.
Yeah.
You drove me to Hammond, Indiana.
From Charleston.
From Charleston and somehow Granny Campbell must have had the kids because she met us at an interchange on 80, because I remember you telling her the best way for you to come is 80. I don't remember.
I don't remember
Anyway.
that at all whatsoever. So
remember it all.
You
okay.
were about out of time.
We'll wrap this
so
up.
you were going to a lot of different
Yes.
churches, not a lot, but you were going to different churches
yeah.
and you were speaking because you had a story
Share the
to
story.
tell.
Yeah. So
Not
going
to share your story that you lived. You lay on the road, pulse zero, everything was zero. As the doctor said, you were clinically dead.
Yes.
And through prayer, God brought you back.
It's amazing.
So
amazing.
it's a great story, which if you're watching this and you need somebody to come to your church and want to talk about God's goodness in your life, she's a good lady to have come.
God sure has been good to us, that's for sure.
So you had gone to a church in Ohio.
Yes, with my mom and Tori.
You were coming back from Granny Campbell's house and your mom stopped at a stop sign and then didn't see somebody, came out and
got T-boned.
Crossed the road, like a major highway where people were traveling.
257, I think.
55 is the speed limit, but they're traveling probably 60. And raining.
It hit right on the support between my mom's door and Tori's door. And
where Tori was sitting, she was in her car seat.
Yeah, either one.
There.
One of them would have been killed.
Right.
And so my mom, something happened with her shoulder. She was beat up a bit. Tori, it was like the Lord put a bubble over her car seat.
That's what the sheriff said. The sheriff said that he couldn't figure it out. He'd never seen anything like it before. That when they got to Tori, they all thought she was going to be dead. They saw the car seat there, and she was just little.
Her baby doll was out the back window.
She was 100% fine. Not a scratch on her.
Not a scratch.
The glass from the window and the glass from the back everywhere. There was glass everywhere, all the way around, and there was not one piece of glass on her or in her seat.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing how God protected us.
Tori, you're a miracle.
And then Donna Campbell went and got a brand new car seat, because I didn't know up till that point, if a car seat has been in an accident, you can't use it anymore, even if it looks perfectly safe. So she went to Walmart, got us a brand new car seat from the hospital. So we all went to the hospital.
And then you made it back home.
You came and got us.
And
then we'll just pick up from there.
No, I think your dad came and got you because the boys were still up there, and I went back. Yeah. I stayed and took care of the boys. I'm pretty sure. Ask your mom to be sure on that.
I'll have to check.
But I'm thinking your dad came and got you guys.
Okay.
And I stayed at home with the boys. So we're about out of time, but that takes us nowhere. The timeline.
We've started the church. So we'll pick up there.
So started the church. We've even given you some stories about the start of the church. Yes. But that's probably one of the highlights of our life, because really that's where our life together started, isn't it? Because I was only in school for a few months. I got there in August, started school in September, and pastor school in March is where I went forward and told the Lord that I would start a church within 10 years. In fact, I didn't just tell the Lord that. They were asking guys to commit to that. They took my name down. Like, it wasn't just, okay, Lord, I'll do this. And just nobody else knew about it. No big deal. I mean, that was actually like I made a commitment. It was a public commitment that I was going to start a church within 10 years. And that's what Beacon was. I mean, that was a lot roundabout to get to that.
March of 1998 to September of 2004. Only 6 years.
What we went through to get there.
But a lot happened in those 6 years.
Yeah, a lot.
But God was with us all the way.
Kind of like the way this has been here, up,
but that's
back,
been our
up,
life.
Back, up, back. It's just the way things have been. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
That's great. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope you've enjoyed it.
We're having a great time. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this journey through our lives. We'll see you guys next time.
See you on the next podcast. Bye.
Thank you for watching the high test. It's been fun having you here. Spud and sweet potato are glad you took the time to join us. We'll see you again real soon.